Lewis and Booger. They did an incredible job on our draft night ESPN broadcast. They were in the trenches on all of this. Let's find out what some of their favorite picks were. Lewis, we go to you first. Give me your favorite pick from round one.
Yeah, it would be Nate Wiggins from Clemson, who was drafted 30th overall by the Baltimore Ravens. Look, I don't think there's any football team in the NFL that understands exactly what it's looking for in the makeup of a player, regardless of position, than the Baltimore Ravens. Their philosophy has been entrenched for years, since Ozzie Newsome took over there in the late 90s. And Nate Wiggins fits that perfectly. Big, long, rangy in terms of his body type, over 6'1", fast, 4'2" in the 40. A guy who is scheme diverse. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play press, he can play off. And here's the most important thing. He will hit. He will run and hit. And that's what Baltimore Ravens defensive backs do. That's what Baltimore Ravens defenders do. There's no better time than sitting and talking football with John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens. And this guy, as soon as he was picked, Booger, remember we were on the set, I said, this guy plays like a Raven. I can hear it right now in their draft room. They're saying, this is a Raven. This is a prototypical Raven. I think scheme, obviously fit is the most important thing when you're talking about any player. Nate Wiggins fits perfectly into Baltimore's culture, I believe.
Yeah, that's the first thing you said, Lewis, was, man, this kid plays like a Raven. And I like the pick, especially if he's going to be in there around 185. For me, it's going to be Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle. So kind of like me, in 1999, I was the first defensive lineman picked at 15. Byron Murphy goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I believe it was 16, the first defensive tackle pick. And his ability to be physical, his ability to have that knockback, his ability to come off the football and penetrate and get into the backfield. I just love how he plays. Normally, you don't get the first defensive tackle pick this late in the draft, but because there were 6 quarterbacks to go in the top 12, you got the first defensive tackle pick. And I think he's not Aaron Donald, because there's only one Aaron Donald. But if you were looking for a guy who could play the 3 technique position and get upfield, who was going to play like his hair was on fire, you got the guy in Seattle. I can't wait to watch him play.
Yeah, I love it. I love the pick. And again, when you kind of take it bigger picture, like Mike McDonald, right, is the new head coach out there in Seattle. Where does he come from? Well, coincidentally, he comes from Baltimore. What kind of player did they have in Baltimore that they really developed into being that kind of knockback, take a gap, create confusion, create disruption in the backfield? They drafted Justin Madubuike and developed him in Baltimore. That's exactly what Byron Murphy reminded me of, and we talked about that on set too. If he can develop into that kind of guy to where he has all the physical tools, you just kind of get him coached up on situational awareness, hand use, understanding where the quarterback is, getting him on the ground, and he becomes a pass rush force. It's a home run pick for him. I like the pick.
Yeah, now you guys did all kinds of great work, obviously, on day one, but day two is when teams really become what they're going to be and when you all do your best work, I believe. So let's do your favorite day two pick. Lewis, you go first.
Yeah, this one's easy for me. Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M, Laura, who was drafted in the 2nd round by the Green Bay Packers. I got to see him play live twice this past year. And I'll tell you what, every time I saw him, I was screaming up there in the box about just how athletic and fast and diverse and 3 down and how important these kind of guys are in the NFL. He reminds me of Fred Warner. I have a feeling he's going to have that kind of impact because he can do it all. And we're talking about Fred Warner, the All-Pro from San Francisco. I know that's a lofty comparison, but this guy can do it. There is nothing he can't do. He was challenged preseason this year. There was a chance he might not have even been starting at Texas A&M this year. They put the hammer down on him and said, look, you need to step up. He responds by having one of the best seasons of any off-ball linebacker in all of college football.
Yeah, he's extremely athletic. I got a chance to see him train down here in Tampa with my good buddy Yo Murphy at House of Athletes. And it's amazing you and I are sharing a brain, Lewis, because you went with one linebacker. I'm going with another one, Peyton Wilson from NC State. People think he's the best linebacker in the draft. Now, I understand the injury history, but it's because of how he plays. He plays like he's shot out of a cannon every single play with no regard for his body. You talk about a linebacker that's 6'3", 230 pounds, ran 4.4 in the 40. I'll say that again. He ran 4.4 in the 40 for a linebacker. The only key for him is, can he stay healthy? Now you put him next to Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh, and I think what you have is you have 2 linebackers that solve the issue that they've been looking to solve for a long time in Pittsburgh ever since Ryan Shazier got hurt. that's a guy in the middle of the defense that can go sideline to sideline. They not only have one, they have two. And the speed in that defense now, my goodness, Mike Tomlin has something to work with in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's interesting, both of you talking about some defenses that historically have been great. The Ravens defense gets even better, to Lewis's point about earlier. And then, Boog, you're talking about this Steelers defense getting a lot better as well. The rich get richer when it comes to the way that they draft, but they have a formula and they had a plan, and probably it's going to pay off.